This video is made possible thanks to the EA Creator Network, and also thank you to EA for sponsoring today's video. Really quickly, I just want to remind you guys that you can still use my creator code on both the EA app and thesims.com. If you use code Jessicapie at checkout, it helps directly support me and my channel, as I do earn a small commission fee from your purchase. Please don't feel like you just have to buy packs just to use my code. Just you watching this video is enough support, but if you are in the market for maybe the new Sims DLC or maybe some previous DLCs, I would love you dearly if you did use my code. But if you don't want to use mine, a lot of other Sims creators also do have creator codes, and you could support them as well. A quick thank you to everyone that has used my code so far, and a lot of you tell me in the comments, and I just love you dearly for thinking about me when you buy your Sims packs. And yeah, I do really appreciate your support. But anyway, let's get into the video. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to another Sims 4 speedrunning video, or welcome to the channel if you are new here. So in today's video, I'm going to be building in the brand new world of Ravenwood, which is the world that we got from the latest expansion pack, which literally just came out, the Sims 4 Life and Death EP, and I'm going to be building Grim Reaper's Academy for Occults. So first things first, I do just kind of want to give a bit of an apology in advance, because if you can notice any difference in my voice, I've been a little bit poorly under the weather this past week. I feel like I sound quite different. Hopefully to you I sound normal, but you know when you can just hear yourself and you're like, oh, that's not right. Me right now, I feel like I sound quite grim actually, which is quite fitting because we've just got a new expansion pack that focuses quite a lot on the Grim Reaper. But yeah, if you can hear any difference in my voice, apologies in advance, I'm trying my best. But this week we've got a new expansion pack. It's called the Sims 4 Life and Death expansion, and of course I just wanted to do a build, basically just sitting down and showcasing all the new build and buy items that we got from this new EP. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, when I first heard that we was getting an expansion pack called Life and Death, I was a little bit worried, if that's the right word. I was a little bit like, right, I'm going to sit this one out. It's probably not going to be for me, because, and I don't know if you're the same, I am someone, I never kill my Sims. Honestly, I could not tell you the last time one of my Sims died in my game. Like, I've still got households from like 2020 that are about to pop their clogs, and I can see their little like age bar sparkling. Like, I know they're going to go, and I get pretty scared. I get pretty attached to my Sims, and so I just still have them households. And even now, if I was to play the game and my Sim dies from like embarrassment or laughter or something, I just exit it. I don't save it. I just get too attached to my Sims. I can't handle the death portion. And so when it came round to finding out that we're getting this new expansion pack that focuses a lot on death, I was a little bit like, okay, probably not going to be the target audience for this one. But then I saw some more stuff about this expansion, and then I heard that a big portion of the gameplay is your Sims becoming the Grim Reaper. Well, I say big portion. It's what I thought would be a big portion of this EP. There is a lot. Honestly, I was pleasantly surprised. I'm just going to say it. I really thought this expansion pack was not going to be for me. But then I found out and learned some more stuff about this expansion pack, which I will get on and I'll tell you all the features shortly. But initially, I just thought your Sims can become the Grim Reaper. The guy that basically shows up every single time that your Sims dies. He's wearing like a black, almost like bathrobe or something. He's got his zit up, he's got like a speary thing, and he takes your Sim's soul. I thought, okay, great, not really my type of gameplay, I'll try it, I'm open to everything. But yeah, and then I got my hands on the pack, and then I discovered that there is so much more than just your Sims becoming the Grim Reaper. And so I was like, okay, well, I really want to sit down and do a build kind of focused on a good portion of the gameplay from this new EP. What could I build? And then I was thinking, well, hang on, one of the things that comes with this new expansion pack is almost like an upgraded versions of the ghosts in The Sims 4. Now, if you're not aware, the ghosts in The Sims 4, I think were like the first type of occult Sims that we got in the game, but they were kind of a little bit, like, that sounds really rude. They weren't the best. Like, I'm going to be honest with you, they weren't the best. Your Sims, they would just show up in like a ghosty form, and that was it. And they're technically meant to be an occult type, but in this new expansion pack, they finally expanded on the ghost form and kind of given us a bit of like an updated version of them. I'm not sure if you play, like vampires or spellcasters or any other type of occults, a lot of them will have this kind of like skill tree, and it kind of like levels up as your Sims progress through the occult. Now with this new expansion pack, your Sims can have like a proper ghosty like thing to level up from. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to build something for this upgraded occult type. Why don't I build something for a bunch of ghosts that want to become the Grim Reaper? And then I thought, well, hang on. I have done a number of different builds throughout the years that focuses on individual occults. So I've built stuff for vampires, I've built stuff for werewolves, I've built stuff for spellcasters, but I've never combined all the different types of occults that we have in the game and put it into one. And initially when I was thinking of doing almost like a ghosty kind of focus build, I was thinking I can make an academy for a bunch of ghosts that want to become the Grim Reaper. Because me personally, I'm probably not going to have like a regular person called, I don't know, Joe or Dan or Phil or Dave or something be in this career type. I'm going to have more like different individuals. So I'm going to have Sims that are a little bit quirky, Sims that might be a vampire or Sims that might be a spellcaster or something. And so I was like, okay, well, why don't I just sit down and build an academy for all the different types of occult Sims that we've got in The Sims 4 and put it into one and make it almost like a little bit of a boarding school for Sims that want to one day become the Grim Reaper. And I just had so much fun with this build. It was just so different because normally, like I said, I've done builds focused on like one certain occult, but I've just never merged them in together. And so in this boarding school, you've got a Sim that might be a spellcaster, their roommate though, they might be a werewolf, or we've got like a mermaid and their roommate might be like an alien or something. It was so fun to decorate, and also just playing around with the new build and buy objects that we've got from this new expansion pack. And so yeah, I'm really happy with this one. I'm really proud of it, and so I really hope you like it as well. But anyway, moving on from that and getting on and talking a little bit more about the build itself and also what I'm doing right now. So you can see that I've already come in and pretty much already built the whole main shape and structure for this build. I've already figured out the roofing, I've already placed down some new wallpaper that we got from this new expansion pack, and then also some of the windows. Now I must say, I was kind of blown away by the amount of different windows that we've got from this new EP. You would have seen when it came around to actually figuring out what windows we've got and where I was going to put them, I started off by placing down a wall at the very front of the build, and then I just plonked down all the different windows from this new expansion pack. I had to extend the wall. We've got so many different windows from this new expansion pack, and they come in multiple different wall heights. For the most part, I mainly use new windows for this build, but when it came around to basically like the street view for the build, where I'm thinking I'm building Grim Reaper's Academy, yeah? Right, this place, I imagine that Sims that are maybe spellcasters, maybe they're aliens, maybe they're werewolves, will one day want to grow up and attend this academy. No, they want to learn how to become the Grim Reaper. I feel like I had to make the building look quite extravagant, a little bit almost like fancy from the exterior, and I really wanted to have a really big window kind of like showing the grandness almost. And I did try and use some of the new windows and kind of put them together and try and create like one big window, and it could have worked, but then I remembered the Castle Estate kit exists, and so the very big windows that are at both the back and the front of the build, they are ones that we've got from the Castle Estate kit. And I will say that DLC matches really nicely with this one, because the Castle Estate kit DLC is very like castle-y. It's very, well, obviously it's the Castle Estate kit, but it's got a lot of like castle features. And with this new expansion pack, a lot of the build and buy stuff is very almost like ancient looking, a little bit historical, a little bit grungy, a little bit grim. There is some more weathered pieces in the build and buy catalogue, which I love, because if you've watched my channel for any duration of time, you know that when it comes around to doing builds, I live for like builds that you can make a little bit more icky and a little bit more like grim and a little bit older. I love that kind of stuff. And with this new expansion pack, a lot of the different build and buy items kind of lean towards that style, especially some of the windows. Some of the windows that we've got, they come in like cracked glass versions, which I just know I'm going to be using them in so many different future builds. But yeah, I placed down all the windows. I'm currently just coming in and pretty much just finishing up the floor plan for this build. Now, the way that I approached the floor plan and the way that I laid it out, I tried to make it seem as like a boarding school as I could possible. Now, unfortunately, the way that The Sims 4 works, I couldn't make this into an actual boarding school or like a university setting these Sims will be able to visit. We do have high schools in the game that you can build, and we do also have university like housing and stuff. But for this one, I was more so focused on, okay, well, if ever I was to play with the Grim Reaper career myself, I'm not just going to have like a regular sim. I'm going to have a sim that's a little bit quirky by the first point. Like, I'm going to have a kind of werewolf or a vampire or a spellcaster. And I just thought it'd be really fun to basically have them live in like some sort of communal accommodation. And so the way that I did the floor plan, it does seem like a school, but the whole idea that I've got in my head is you just got a bunch of sims and they all just work for the Grim Reaper, and they're all trying to level up their skills to maybe one day overcome him and maybe become better than him. We do have like regular housey bits and bobs in here, so your sims do still have a kitchen. In the kitchen though, where it's a academy for occults, I made sure to be inclusive of all the different occult types, and so in the kitchen area I placed down a cauldron for the spellcaster sim, but then we also do have a bit of a dining room, and then on the other side of the build I made it so we have Grim Reaper's classrooms. And so in there I placed down what I was thinking would be like a corkboard, and then I ended up placing down loads of different like posters and things that like reference the Grim Reaper. I then placed down loads of different desks and like school chairs almost behind the desk, and then you go through the room behind it, and it's basically like a massive skill building room for all the different occult sims. I tried my hardest to try and include everything that we got for all the different occults in the game. And so for example, if you're someone that likes to play with vampires, one of the skills that you can have if you're a vampire, or even if you're just like a regular sim but you came with the vampires game pack, is if your sims could play the pipe organ. And so in like this skill building room I placed down a pipe organ, but then I also placed down like this seance table, because again that's quite paranormal, that's quite like spooky, it's a little bit like oogly boogly, and so I placed that down into the skill building room. I just tried to place down everything that relates to occults somewhere in this build and try and put them into almost like a little dedicated skill building room. But then on the upstairs level I made it so their bedrooms are almost like dorms. Now in total there ends up being 4 different bedrooms or 4 different dorms, and I did it so each sim has kind of like a different occult roommate. So currently in The Sims 4 there is I think 7 different occult types. We've got ghosts and vampires, spellcasters and mermaids, aliens and werewolves, and then bless them, I always forget about them, but then we also do have plant sims as well. I made it so if they want to, plant sims could also live in this academy with the rest of the occults, but the way that I kind of like laid it all out, I made it so each sim will have an occult roommate that they should kind of get along with. So for example, I made it so for the spellcaster, their roommate is going to be a werewolf, because I'm not sure how much you know about vampires and spellcasters and kind of like the lore behind them, but something along the lines of werewolves stemmed from spellcasters, or like a spellcaster created the first werewolf, something along the lines of that. I can't remember it off memory right now, but it's something along the lines of that. So I was thinking, well, if any of the occults were going to be paired together, I feel like a spellcaster and a werewolf would go quite hand in hand together. We then also have a vampire and a ghost room. We then have a mermaid and an alien room. I felt like mermaid and alien were very fitting because they're both kind of from different worlds. One's underground and one's in the sky, and so it kind of made sense to me. And the last one that I did was for a plant sim, and then they had a spare like guest room, spare guest bed, so you could either make that for a regular sim that is going to be absolutely petrified if they live here, or maybe one day if we ever get any more occults, they could live in that room with the plant sim. I did also try and purposely show kind of like through the furnishings what bedrooms are going to be for what type of occults, because it's all good and well me saying, oh yeah, by the way, a spellcaster and a werewolf sleeps in here, or a mermaid and an alien are roommates, but I wanted to try and show it through the furnishings. So for example, for like the mermaids area in their bedroom, I placed down seashells and some of the different types of buried treasure that you can find in the ocean of Sulani. And then for werewolves I placed down these little like werewolf sculptures, and then for spellcasters I placed down like spell books and potions and stuff. I was just thinking Sims would come here and they would basically try and be the best of their own occult, but then in doing so they would also want to become the Grim Reaper. I also use the new tarot card art prints that we've got in the game and kind of like place them above their bed. Now tarot cards are one of the new features of this new expansion pack. Don't worry, I will still get on and tell you about what is actually coming in this new expansion pack shortly. I'm so excited about this build and I want to tell you about every single nook and cranny, but tarot cards are one of the new features in this new EP, and it's something that your Sims can collect, but then also to go hand in hand with that, the Sims team created tarot card prints that you can place down as wall decorations, and there is so many different art prints of all these different tarot cards, and luckily enough the majority of the occults are kind of like catered to. So we have a tarot card for vampires, we've got one for ghosts and aliens and mermaids and spellcasters, and so when I was decorating all the different individual bedrooms, like the dorm areas, I was able to place down decorations that kind of tied to the occult, but then it also placed down the tarot card prints on top, which blatantly shows, alright, a werewolf sleeps in this bed, if you know what I mean. But yeah, that is kind of like how I laid out all the different rooms or all the different bedrooms in this build. But getting over from that and actually getting on and talking about some of the new features that we've got from this new expansion pack. Now, of course, as you probably already know by this point, but your Sims can become pretty much the Grim Reaper if they want to. They can spend their 9 to 5, instead of working an office job, they can go to work and collect souls for a living. That is one of the bigger features of this new expansion pack. We also do have another career, which I believe your Sims can work as a mortician. Is that how you say that? I'm not familiar with that word, and if I don't know how to say a word, I always feel like I'm going to pronounce it wrong. But your Sims, there is one active career, Grim Reaper one, then there is also one where you can just send your Sims off to work and kind of forget about them for a few hours. But then also we've got like the upgraded ghosts, like I was saying. We now have cemeteries in this new expansion pack, which I, for the longest time, even though I don't kill my Sims and my Sims don't really die that often, I've wanted to build a cemetery, and it is something that is still on my to-do list. It's still like on my bucket list to do for the game, but currently I don't know how I'm going to plan it out. I feel like that one I'm going to have to spend a lot of time figuring out what it's going to look like and how it's going to be laid out, because I don't want to get it wrong. But yeah, we now have cemeteries. We can also now have funerals, which love that for generational gameplay. You can also write wills and inherit stuff, which these are the things I am the most excited for, because day-to-day gameplay, like we've established, I'm not someone that's going to often get my Sim to be the Grim Reaper. Like, I definitely will play with it and I definitely will explore all the different choices and the career at one point, but I more prefer it when the Sims team give us an expansion pack or a game pack or some sort of DLC that kind of expands on regular day-to-day gameplay. And to me, having stuff like wills or family heirlooms, which is another one of the new features, or like having things that your Sims can pass down through generations, I just like that. Like, I like the idea of a possible, say for example, you've got a really rich family, yeah, and maybe it consists of 3 Sims. Maybe you've got like a single dad and he's got 2 daughters. He loves one of his daughters, hates the other one, and then he pops his clogs. He left everything in his will to the daughter that he likes, and the daughter that he didn't like doesn't get anything. Like, I just feel like for gameplay, it ties in really nicely into the game, and it's not going to feel too like magical and mystical and occult-y. It just kind of blends into real life things, because in real life stuff like that does happen. And so I like the idea of your Sims being able to write wills and inherit stuff and have like family heirlooms. Your Sims as well, by the way, just remembered, they can be reborn. So say for example, dad pops his clogs, 2 daughters distraught, one of them not so much, but, you know, still a little bit sad, didn't inherit anything, probably that's the reason why she's sad. But then the dad could be reborn as maybe their, I don't know, cousin or something. I would say kid, but that's a bit weird. I'm not sure how it works, but I'm excited to explore it. But then another one of the things and one of the main features of this new expansion pack is your Sims can have a bucket list. Now, this is going to sound so silly, but this is something that actually made me cry when... Why did my voice tremble? Again, I'm poorly, so if I sound a little bit off, that is why. But this is one of the things that made me cry when I watched the Sims 4 Life and Death trailer for the first time. I'm not sure if you follow me on Twitter or X. I still call it Twitter. I'm not going to lie. I'm never going to refer to it as X because... What? Like, no, Twitter. But I tweeted once I watched the Life and Death expansion pack that I cried at the trailer, and I'm thankful because a lot of other people told me that they also cried as well. But a big thing in the trailer was this dad did pass away, and his daughter kind of had this bucket list pop up and appear, and it's kind of like her soul's journey, and there's these different things that get randomly assigned to your Sim as kind of like their bucket list. Me personally, I've got quite an extensive bucket list. One of my bucket list things to do in my life is just so random, but I really want to go in a hot air balloon. Like, that is so strange, but it's just one of the things. I've never done it, but like, that's something that's on my bucket list. Your Sims, they might have a bucket list thing to be, I don't know, go quit your job or go visit a new world, or, you know, go and do this or go and do that. Like, basically the way that it works is it ties in all the different DLCs that you've got in your game, and the game will basically randomly assault your sim to have their own little personalised and kind of like curated to them bucket list. Now, like I said, I have got quite an extensive bucket list myself. One of them is to go in a hot air balloon. I just think it would be so fast. I think it's Turkey, I believe it is, but there's somewhere that you can go in the world. I will get back to the build shortly, sorry, I just need to tell you about this. But there's somewhere that you can go in the world, and you can go in a hot air balloon at sunrise, and it is just one of like my goals, one of my ambitions in life is to go in a hot air balloon. But as well as that, I do also have a bucket list, or kind of like a to-do list, if you want to put it that way, of different Sims builds that I want to do. And this actually kind of ties in nicely with the sponsored part of this video, because the Sims team did actually reach out to me in kind of like preparation for this new expansion pack, and they basically asked me what type of things are on my bucket list. Wait, no, I worded that really bad. They didn't ask me what is on my bucket list. They don't know that I want to go in a hot air balloon. They don't, you know that, they don't know that. But like, they asked me what type of builds are on my bucket list. And I said to them that one of the things that I really wanted to build is, you know, some sort of academy for occult sims to kind of like explore the new career. And then they gave me an idea of my own, and so yeah, the Sims team basically gave me my own bucket list. They made like a little graphic and everything. I'll pop it up on the screen now, and they said to me, okay, on your bucket list you've got to build the Grimm's Academy for Occults. This is what you're seeing me do right now. But then they also gave me one that they thought of themselves, which was to build the Grim Reaper's apartment, which, I mean, that is a little bit of a spoiler, because now you know that one of my builds that is going to be coming up very shortly is going to be an apartment for the Grim Reaper, which I don't ever do apartments. That itself is something on my bucket list, because if you're familiar with my channel, you know that I regularly ever do apartment build. I like building structurally things. I like building some big fancy looking buildings, and I regularly ever dive into actually doing apartments. But you know, you're going to be seeing me build the Grim Reaper's apartment very shortly. But I hope the Sims team really like this vision and this idea that I have of it. I'm really happy that they let me kind of like take control of what I wanted to do, because this is generally something that was on my bucket list. And like I said, if ever I'm going to get my Sims to be the Grim Reaper, I'm not going to have a regular sim called Dave be the Grim Reaper. I'm going to have some sort of like spellcaster or werewolf or something a little bit more fancy, a little bit more like special, become a Grim Reaper. And so when I said to the Sims team that one of the things I really wanted to build was a academy for occult, I'm really grateful that they said to me that they thought it was a good idea. And so if you're watching this, I feel like you probably will be, but I hope you like it, Sims team. But anyway, moving on from that and actually getting back to the build and talking about what I'm doing right now. So as you can see, I've already come in and done like the main like grand entrance hallway into the build. I've already done the kitchen. You would have seen in the kitchen I placed down the cauldron in the corner. I've already done kind of like a little dining room, and now I'm coming in and doing almost like this greenhouse kind of room. Now, I'm not even gonna lie to you, I've really struggled when it came around to decorating this room, because you might notice when I first started decorating this room, there was different wallpaper and different flooring, and that is because initially my plan was to make this into basically like a little downstairs bathroom, a downstairs toilet, if you want to put it that way. But then I was thinking, well, this is meant to be a boarding school. It's a bit weird to have this toilet this big close to the kitchen, because if I would have just come in and placed down a toilet and a sink, it's too big of a room just to have them two items in, and it felt weird having a bathtub that close to the kitchen. And so I thought, I can't really make this into a bathroom, like it sticks out like a sore thumb. And then I was thinking, well, hang on, some of the different occult types that we've got in the game, say for example spellcasters, a lot of the gameplay is kind of tied towards like harvestables or using different harvestables to create all these different potions, being a spellcaster. Why don't I make it into some sort of little greenhouse room? And so yeah, that's what I did. Like I said, when I was coming into this build, I just tried to be as inclusive as I could for all the different occult types in the game, and I don't even know why I didn't initially think to make it into some sort of little like greenhouse room, but yeah, it's where it ended up being in the end. I have already pre-planted some harvestables in the little like planter pots. I think I placed down mushrooms and then potentially like sage and stuff. Can't lie to you, it was just what my playtester sim had in her pockets, and so I already pre-planted them. But now moving over, as you can see, I've now moved on into the next room, which is the classroom. Now, like I mentioned, we unfortunately can't actually have a Grim Reaper's Academy in the game. This is just like my idea if we could ever have one. And so when it came around to decorating this classroom, it just basically ends up being mostly for decoration, but it was just a lot of fun to decorate. Like, imagine thinking, what would a classroom for the Grim Reaper look like? This is basically what came into my head. And so what I did is I placed down this crime map. It's the one that basically looks like a massive chalkboard. We got it from the Get to Work expansion pack. It's meant to be something that, you know, the police department, they're meant to like be able to solve crimes and this kind of thing, but for pretend classrooms, it works really nicely. And so I placed that down here, and then I used some little tables and chairs that we got from the high school years expansion pack. I used some that are a little bit more like grimy and grotty, and they've got like some tears, and some of them look like they've got writing on and stuff. And I placed them in front of this corkboard, and then over here in the corner you can see that I'm coming in and basically just move objects in, loads of different posters and decorations and herbs. I even placed down a little spider into one of the corners, and I tried to place down posters that I feel like if there was an academy to learn how to become a Grim Reaper, what would be on the board. And so I placed down random posters of the Grim Reaper. In some of the poster collections that I placed down, there is some pictures of like crows and ghosts and stuff. I also decided to merge in a skull. You see the skull that's kind of like in the middle of it? That is from the Journey to Batuu game pack. Now I must admit, I am not a Journey to Batuu girly. I don't play Journey to Batuu. I don't even know where you would find that within the Batuu world, but it looks quite fitting to me. It's a skull, and the Grim Reaper is familiar with death, and so I placed that down to the whiteboard. And then I also placed down some like herbs. I'm not really sure why, but to me it just felt like it fitted in with the theme. But then around the little like corkboard whiteboard area, I placed down a coffin and then like a coffin stand. We also have like a little pretend teacher desk, and then on the desk I placed down one of the new types of frogs that we've got within this new expansion pack. I then also placed down a crow as well, because that is another new like gameplay feature within this EP. Your Sims now, if they want to, they can have a pet bird. They can have a crow. Now I must admit, when I saw the crow for the first time, I was a little bit gutted that there is no other swatches that you could pretend to be like a parrot or something, but I'm really hoping that this might open up future potentials, that now we've got this animation in the game for your Sims to have a pet bird, if we could have maybe like parrots or something, or owls. I would love it if we have owls. I actually love owls. Like, have you ever seen an owl walk? They've got really long legs, but that's besides the point. I'm just hoping that now that we've got an animation already within this expansion pack, maybe the Sims team will open up having other types of birds in the game, like owls, like parrots. I would love it if we could get a parrot and it would talk back to your Sim, and it could just like fly around the house or something. I would absolutely love that. But yeah, I placed down a little crow into the main classroom, and then I also do place one down into this room, which you can see I've now moved over. This is kind of like that skill building room that I was talking about. So in here we've got the seance table, we end up having a pipe organ. Also placed down, actually, and I haven't even mentioned it yet, these new bookcases that we got from this expansion pack. Prepared to be sick of me using these bookcases. They are so nice, and they come in both a short wall height and then also a medium wall height. I use them in, I think, every single room in this build somewhere, just because they're so good. And also, bookcases, I must admit, when it comes around to decorating, they're such a good filler for rooms. And so I placed down a bunch of them in this room. I also placed down a globe bar in this room as well, which is kind of funny if you think about it, because this is meant to be a school for occults to learn to become the Grim Reaper. And I've placed down something where if they want to, they can have a drink on a Friday or a Saturday night, or a Monday night, depending on how hard the shift at work has been. But I placed down a glow bar in here, one for decoration, but then two, it kind of does add more like gameplay into the room. And so yeah, I'll pop that down to that room as well. And then in terms of decorations, I tried to scatter about more like occulty looking things, and so I placed down a little tiny miniature like cow plant decoration, like a little glass cube. I then also placed down some paranormal stuff dolls, and then candles, and just random knickknacks that are kind of a little bit occulty in a way. But now, as you can see, I've now moved on to the upstairs portion, and I've started coming in and decorating the first dorm, which is going to be the dorm for a spellcaster and a werewolf. So in here you can see that I've already started to incorporate them tarot card prints that I was talking about. Honestly, there are so many. I was blown away by the amount of different choices for all these different tarot cards. It makes me really want to do a build for someone that's maybe really into tarot card reading. Maybe I should do like an apartment, or maybe I should do maybe like a build which is someone that wants to be a tarot card reader, or maybe someone that is. But you can see that I placed down one over on this bed, and this is the one that I tried to make seem like a spellcaster belonged to. So I placed down a little broom by their bed. I also placed down some potions and some spell books, and then on the other side of the room, that is where the werewolf sim would be, and I placed down again another tarot card, and you can see that is two literal werewolves on this one. And then on their bedside table, I placed down some little werewolf sculptures. I also placed down this floating moon lamp. We got it from the werewolf game pack, but it felt like it fitted in because, werewolves, full moon, they transform and stuff, and so I placed that down. And then also in this room as well, I had some empty space by these windows, and so again I placed down one of the new bookcases, and then I also placed down these two armchairs, which aren't from the new expansion pack, they're from the Vampires game pack, but they kind of felt like they fitted with the theme of it. Also, something that I wanted to mention, in case you're curious and in case you go looking for them, you see the curtains that I've placed down onto the windows. They're technically curtains, but they're not in the curtain category in the game. They are technically curtains that your Sims can put over their windows, but weirdly enough, they're categorized as wall decorations. And so in case you're seeing these curtains, hang on, I haven't got them in my curtain category. I'm not even sure if we did get any separate curtains in that category, but if you're curious and you keep on seeing me place down these little curtains, and I remove the wall behind it just because sometimes when I'd size them down, it'll be clipping, and so I'd put down the curtain and I'd delete the wall, and then I'd freely place the curtain and then re-add in the wall so then it wasn't clipping. If you see me do that, I just sized them down, they're meant to be for the medium wall height, but I just didn't want them to clip weirdly. But they are actually in the wall decoration category. But either way, moving over, as you would have seen, I just quickly decorated one of the bathrooms. Now, in this build, there ends up being 3 bathrooms. The spellcaster and werewolf room, and then the vampire and the ghost room have their own ensuites. But then the mermaid and the alien, and the plant sim, and then the standard sim, future occult sim rooms, they share a bathroom between them 2 different rooms. And so in total there is 3 bathrooms. I only ever show you the furnishing for 1 bathroom in any of my builds, just because to me it's quite boring and it's quite repetitive. We did get a new bathroom set from this DLC, but it just wasn't the vibe. Lovely, like it a lot, it just wasn't the vibe, because the new bathroom set is very modern and it's nice, but it wasn't really fitting this kind of grungy, occulty kind of idea that was going for. And so I decided to use a toilet and shower and bath combo that we got from the Vampires DLC. But either way, I just completely spoke over the next room. But the room that you would have just seen me decorate was for a vampire and a ghost. Hopefully you would have seen that come through in the furnishings. I know I'm currently moving over and I'm doing something else, but you might have noticed for the ghosty area in that room, I used a print of Bonehilda, because even though we do have so many different tarot card prints, I couldn't find the appropriate print for a ghost. We had some that I could have used, but I knew that I wanted to use them for the alien and stuff, and so I thought, well, what's the next thing closest to a ghost? Bonehilda. And so I placed down a Bonehilda print in that room. But currently, as you can see, I'm coming in and decorating the little library. So in this room, you see that weird boxy looking computer? That's not actually a computer. That is something that your Sims can do research on. We got it from the Discover University expansion pack, I'm pretty sure. But normally when you get your Sims to click on their family computer, depending on the skill, your Sims can research parenting, or they can research gardening. Normally they can do a few of the skills on the computer, but not all of them. Whereas that little fat boxy looking computer thing that I placed down to the library is purely for research purposes. And I feel for Sims that are trying to be the best in their occult type, whether it be spellcaster, werewolf, vampire, whatever it may be, it might be really handy to have that skill building item in this build somewhere. And so I placed it down into the little library. Also placed down some more bookcases in that room, as well as kind of an empty desk for your Sims to maybe write in their journal or something. But now moving over, as you can see, I've now moved on into the next room, which is going to be for an alien and for a mermaid. Now, like I said, I paired these 2 occults together because I'm thinking a mermaid comes from underground, or underwater, which is pretty much underground, and then an alien comes from a different planet. So they're both different occults that come from two completely different globes, if you want to put it that way. And I just thought that aliens and mermaids would be the most fitting to be paired together. By the aliens bed, I placed down some crystals. I also placed down a little like flying saucer lamp, and then by the mermaid's bed I placed down some seashells and some like buried treasure and stuff. And then also in that room I kind of finished it off by placing down the other things I placed down to the dorm, so like a wardrobe. Also placed down some armchairs. I do want to mention I did decide to cut out the room for the plant sim and then like the future occult sim, purely because by that point I felt like I was just doing the same thing over and over again, and so I just felt like it wasn't necessary to keep in. But I mean, as always, there will be screenshots of that room if you're curious of what it looks like. Plus, plant sims are really hard to decorate for. No wonder they're the forgotten occult in my game, because yeah, there's not really that many decorations. But other than that, I'm pretty much going to go around this room, finish it off, and that is pretty much it. So anyway guys, I'm going to end this voiceover right here. As always, you can download this build via the gallery. My gallery ID is JessicapieYT, or you can search for the hashtag JessicapieYT or just the hashtag Jessicapie. Once again, thank you to EA for sponsoring today's video, and as always, thank you guys so much for watching. If you do like my content, then please do subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in my next Sims 4 speedrunning video. Bye guys.